awesome. Why is this taking?
Your life.
Hello, everybody. This is 2A Radio. We are broadcasting from Pennsylvania, the United States of America. And today is the 20th day of December. We have about 5 more days to Christmas. And
dashing through the snow in a one-horse open.
Hello, everybody. This is 2A Radio. We are broadcasting from Pennsylvania, where we sit, and glad to have another brand new day. And wherever you are, today is the 20th day of December 2021. We have 5 more days to Christmas. As you are aware, there's only one day in a year, one big happy day in a year, and that is the day that Jesus Christ was born. For those of you who are not Christians, we also know that you are in the Word, and so you have to feel the feel of Christmas. How it's going to be celebrated, the children in particular, and the old folks. We hope that this year Christmas will give you some meaning. If you have nothing to celebrate Christmas, the fact that you have life, we say, praise God, you are among the living. At this moment, we have with us Maryland correspondent, and that is the big man, Langston Joe Wilson. Langston is a permanent broadcaster who has joined 2A Radio, and of course, we welcome you, Langston. How you doing first and foremost? How is the feel of Christmas with you?
Well, I'm good, and just as you said, at this time now, if you, I don't want to talk about other places, but if you reach Liberia, you will get to understand that indeed the Christmas is around.
That's good. So, how is Maryland? How are the people of Maryland preparing to celebrate Christmas? How is the fever like?
Well, Maryland is good relatively, and almost everyone now is gearing up for the Christmas. Um, we have different ways of celebrating it, even though we have the Grebo people here in general, but there are sections of the Grebo people. You got those on seaside, you got different way of
people of Maryland
general, but there are sections of the Grebo people. You got those on seaside, you got different way of.
Okay, and so we want to know the children. Have you looked at the faces of children? Most often, if you look at children, you can know how the Christmas will be celebrated. On more children's side, are they like celebrating, talking about their new clothes, their sneakers, slippers or whatever? How do you, your observation about the children in Maryland County?
Well, I can tell you many of them might not have hope because during our days when we're small, your parents will buy the clothes and you can never know whether they were clothes bought for you until the day reaches. But today, because of the increase of those materials, so even if the parents buying the clothes, the children always in and know that the clothes is being bought and they know the type of clothes they will wear for that day, unlike during our kids. So that tells you that yesteryears, I believe, were better because of the economic situation. Today, you have a lot of people complaining about the lack of funding. In fact, people even work for government, the delay of salary, others will say, look, before the season, you will have your salary either getting advance from the company or the institution you're working for. But today is just difficult because of the hardship in the country. So many of those children, you can never find out whether, because by now they should have it, let's say they should be having some things like the toys, like those cars they are playing with, like those playing golf and all of that, but nothing you can find around like before. Only a few of them have, and those things that I saw at high cost. Sometimes just for a car for a child to play with, you will buy $2,500. like this fire gun. You buy like 500, 300, 400, all of that. So the next thing is that school has just opened, and many of those parents, the finances they have to use it for the tuition of the children.
Okay.
So um, in that same time, to just afford buying Christmas things, satisfying the children is just difficult. However, I believe parents are coping with the situation.
Okay. So from that end, I'm wondering whether the government or the authorities in Maryland County are planning to have a children Christmas program. You hearing anything like that?
Well, from Maryland, especially Plebo, normally it used to be the current speaker.
Okay.
Um, Normally, when this season comes, he organizes a Christmas party for the kids, and they are escorted by their parents. And after they have everything done, then their parents will have to take them back home. But because of the recent incident that took place in March,
Okay.
where a 22-year-old man was murdered, who was a senior student of the Plebo High School in the
Hmm.
cold blood, and the residents of the county have decided to take a street protest where probably they felt, manhandled, and some of them moved to the residence of the speaker and set it ablaze. Since then, it is unclear yet whether he will come and act like, some other lawmakers who normally lodge in a motel in their own counties.
Hmm.
So once his house is not available anymore, we are yet to get any information as to whether this year's Christmas party for the children will be possible.
So he has not reconditioned his house since then?
Yep, it has not been reconditioned. In fact, what we are hearing now is that he's trying to renovate a house in Harper where he will be each time before he will recondition his area because it was burned down.
Okay, and so it's good that you have given us those pieces of information. Let's go down to some of the basic things for which we are here today. The last time it was reported that a body was found at the port of Harper, and that you did interview the port manager for the Harper port. What is the outcome? What has happened since then?
Well, according to what we have gathered, the vessel came and it was offloaded. And Thursday, which was the 9th of this month, they were able to issue them clearance for them to return to Monrovia because there was another anchor that was in anchoring position. So it needed to berth at the pier also. But the captain insisted that he could not leave, and from which ground the manager was unable to say it. So on that Thursday evening, he was seen coming to town around 6. He came to Harper and had some social activities and returned to the port by 11. And in fact, by 2 o'clock, one of the security assigned at the port interacted with him. That is 2 o'clock in the morning.
Hmm.
But on Friday morning, early morning, they could not see him up to 9 o'clock when they started to ask about him. That prompted a search launched by officers of the Liberia National Police, the Sea Police, those security, private security at the port.
Hmm.
So the entire Friday, they looked for him and they could not find him until the next morning, which was on Saturday, the 11th of this month, when they decided to take the ship off the pier so that the other one that was in anchoring
Right.
position could get at the port so that it will be release of the goods. That's how one of those who were standing by saw something in the water and said, "Oh, look, something is under the water." So, according to the port manager, William Wallace, he was able to invite or hire some divers and invite the Liberia National Police. And when they brought the team on shore, it was the body of the missing captain.
Wow.
So we were able to invite um, the county health team representatives who went there and inspected the body. But as it stands, we have now gotten the reports from what they have done. In fact, what I'm told is that some of my colleagues who were there during the inspection
Hmm.
were now privileged to have been there while the police and the medical group were doing the inspection. So I asked them why. They said the guys never wanted any of them to take photo. So that was the reason why they have decided to tell them to stay back until they perform the inspection and get back to them with the report. So it was after that the port manager have invited us to his office and make the statement. And in fact, he himself said he was awaiting the report before he was going to make the final report to the National Port Authority.
So that means up to this point, the government has not said what led to the death of this captain.
Yes, normally if such incident happen, despite the preliminary report released like the port manager did, if there is a conclusion of the report, the Liberia National Police or the Maritime Authority or the National Port Authority supposed to come up with the final report to say, look,
Right.
this is we have found with the investigation that was conducted by the Liberia National Police and the Ministry of Health.
I'm wondering why did authority deny the media from viewing this body and being part of the initial, fact finding?
Since I wasn't there and it was my colleagues that told me,
Mm.
the only justification they gave was they never wanted any photo to be taken while they were doing the inspection. So that was the only reason they have given.
Okay, we're going to follow up on that development continuously to know what happened, if this fellow was murdered or he probably got killed by whatever. Since initially he was asked to take his ship from the piers so that the other ship could land, whether there was any tussle between he and those authorities, meaning the police officers or whatever you have security at the port. So we need to find out what is happening in Maryland County on that issue. Today we are hearing that there are individuals who are now pulling into Maryland County because of the 2023 election. There are aspirants who are trying to familiarize themselves with the people. What is going on?
Yes, just as you said, people are acquainting themselves with the electors or the general public in the county. People who have contested before are doing reacquaintance with the people and people who are coming in the race, and there are other people who are already in power and want to be retained. So as we speak, two of the candidates that are here for the senatorial race are one Henrik Wilson. He served before at the Ministry of Education, I think as Deputy Minister, and he's a Marylander. He's here currently patrolling the villages. And in recent time, I think it was um, the end of last week, over the weekend, Mr.
Mm.
Irejiko also came because he contested twice in the county. First, he contested the representative elections of Plibo Solokan district, and he lost the election to the current speaker, who was then the Kiben. And the 2020 election he contested, and also he was defeated by James Pobi Bane, who is the current senator of the county, who served for Harper District also for a number of years. So both of them are in the county, and there are others who are based in the county and doing similar thing like Thomas Nimland, like Robert Neal, and one of them who's based in Monrovia, Anthony Williams. So many of them, because the district is owned by the Nyambo people who are the indigenous, and many of us who are um, just residents. So it was last Saturday that the Nyambo people have decided to come together
Hmm.
and reach a conclusion that of all of them who are contesting, let there be one person who will come up that the indigenous will have to push to say, look, this is the person that we are putting forth. Then those people who are just residents of the district will have to join us in the process so that it will be easy to avoid sharing the rural population. So we've guided that the people's conclusion, it was unclear, but they have decided to tell all of those who went there that they are pushing Anthony Williams for this upcoming election. That is the 2023 representative election for Maryland County Electoral District Number 2,
Okay.
which the current speaker now serves as a representative, and he's been serving since 2006
Hmm.
as a representative before he ascended to the speaker position this tenure. So those are other consultations and people who are contesting from the Nyambo Belt. You have Rapport, let's say that's Nelson E. You have Tumuwa Hoto, who is the former statutory superintendent.
Hmm.
You have Thomas Nimle, who is a local businessman, and the Anthony Williams man. Those are names coming up, but there are other names that are coming up, and those people have not shown their faces. But in
Okay.
due time, we believe that they will be coming as times go by.
Okay. I know it's probably we have about one whole year, so there might be more other names that might come up. But have you heard whether the current speaker is still intending to contest?
Um, we believe that he will contest because, like, I quote one lawmaker who said, the election is the fund that the politician always make. So if the year is coming to an end, you understand that those guys will be preparing their farming implement
Right.
to and engage the portion of farm they will brush for that year. So normally you have those politicians every electoral year they will have to come because that's the farm they are making almost, let's say, as compared to the farmer every year.
I know.
So we truly believe that he will contest. We have not heard from him, from his office, that he might not contest this upcoming election. So we believe that he will contest.
Okay. That's it. We're going to follow up. Election is 2023. We still have more.
Yes. But what is
Mhm.
not clear is that whether he's contesting as a representative, as a senator, or to negotiate with the ruling coalition as a vice presidential candidate. We have not heard that whether he will contest for re-election or to ascend to another position.
Okay, we're gonna keep our eyes on those development, especially so he's the current the third president in government, meaning the speaker of the legislative branch of government. So I'm sure before the year end, he might
Yeah.
have a major press conference to see whether he will run or not. But um, we have heard that there are a lot of $4 billion being printed. So the news came out, and we're wondering what is happening in Maryland County. Have you heard any news about whether the $100 bill of the new printed banknotes will be distributed in Maryland County, or is there any sample you perhaps seen in Maryland County?
Well, that was in the media that this December the $100 notes will have been released to the public, and we have been hoping to have seen it. Particularly, people are anxious to know whether there is a new family that has been printed, to know what are the differences between what is being circulated and what is expected to be circulated.
Hmm.
But because there is no information currently as to whether it will truly be released or is being released by the Central Bank of Liberia, is not mostly discussed in the county. People are not really discussing it right
Okay.
now. So yes, it's something hard to talk about.
Okay, because we think before the money is distributed, there must be some plan as to how they're going to get the mutilated banknotes from the market and how they're going to infuse the new ones. So maybe the central bank, I don't know, today's the 20th and Christmas is here. if they
Yeah.
intend to release this money before Christmas. I don't know how they're going to do that within five days, whatever. But they should be able to give Liberians the information as to how they're going to proceed in the distribution of this money. Well, we're going to keep eyes on that also. Well, listen, it's good to have you here. Is there anything else that we can talk about from Maryland County?
Well, just to talk about how the county is at least growing, the season, like in previous years, if you see time like this, you have the street crowded
Okay.
because both of those people from the villages have to come to town and purchase for the season. But the streets are not crowded like before. So it's just something we've been wondering about what the situation is like. But we are planning to do an outside broadcast at one of those marketplaces prior
Right,
to the
right.
season so as to get a view from those citizens as to what the season is like with them.
Okay, I think that I know definitely you're going to discuss with the manager. You're going to plan it to see how we can bring that live to people, because we want to know whether those who are even working in government, whether they are getting their salary. We have 5 more days to Christmas, and I think by this time they should be paid, so that they will make some plan as to what they can do for their various homes. But we're going to
Yeah.
follow up that, and that'll be a good thing that we get in the street and hear what Marylanders have to say about the upcoming Christmas and even the New Year. Well, what's about this guy who did murdered and was taken to how you call it? Is that Zwedro prison?
Murder?
Yeah, this 22-year-old guy that was murdered, and there was some. Okay, we're going to come on that. Let me not jump the gun. We have to do some investigation on that. We want to know, what are some of these prior deaths, whether there have been some trial or some resolution into, what has been happening in Maryland County. But again, we say thank you for being with us this morning. It was good to have you on. Except you have a final word for us.
Yes, let me say thanks ever so much to the management of Two-Way Radio TV. And it has been a while now. We didn't appear due
Right.
to some schedule, but we hope to keep the broadcast alive to the taste of the audience. And we believe that as days, go by, we continue to improve in the broadcast so that our audience can keep watching us. So thanks ever so much from our end, from Maryland County.
Okay, thank you so much. And that was the voice of Langston Joe Wilson. He's our correspondent from Maryland County. He's been looking at issue of the Christmas season in Maryland County, how people are coping, are preparing to celebrate the Christmas. We have 5 more days to Christmas. So how is the situation there in Maryland County? He's planning also to get a street, interview. I mean, go around, talk to people in Maryland County to see how situation is like with them as we approach the Christmas and also the New Year. He also spoke about the men that died at the port of Harper, and that was the captain of one of the ships in that part of the country, Liberia. And his body was found in the river. And prior to that, he was told to move his vessel as another vessel was supposed to come in. We are hearing that he left, he went to town, he had some fun time and returned to the port. And just to realize in about 2 days that his body was found in the river. How our investigation is ongoing. We want to hear from the government. We hope the government will also bring out this report. Also, speaking on the currency, it's like, well, we're not getting information as to how the central government is planning to, infuse the $4 billion that's already been printed and brought into the country, how they're going to infuse that into the economy, how they intend to withdraw the old banknotes. I mean, the strategy, we don't know that yet, and we hope that those at the central bank and the finance ministry will be able to brief the people as to how they're going to infuse the money. I don't know what is going to be a surprise, whether it's an economic strategy or whatever they're going to do. We also just wait to hear from the central government on the newly printed banknotes. Well, that was Langston Joe Wilson from Maryland County. We look forward to his street interview. In another development, we recently spoke to the former finance minister, Boyman S. Kamara. Boyman Kamara is the former finance minister. He was on this program or this show, to a radio. He came along with the then boss of the Financial Intelligence Unit, Alexander N. Coffey. And they spoke about the 2022 proposed national budget that is before the national legislature. One key thing we got from there is that during the budget formulation process and the debate, we hope that the legislative branch of government will open a debate so that those ministries and agencies will be able to defend their portions of the budget, even only if these ministries, line ministries and agencies had their voice in the preparation project process of this national budget. We're also looking forward to see how the national government will take seriously, the budgetary process, because that's the lifeline of whatever going to happen in the country. If there's going to be a better developmental plan, youth programs, and health program. Right now, we're hearing about COVID, and there's continuity of these global problems. So how is this budget going to deal with the situation? We hope that there will be a massive debate or open up a debate so that Liberians or line ministers and agencies will defend their portion of the budget to know how did they spend the last budget. Were there any surplus from each of these line ministries and agencies? And I have been looking at the current budget. I think they carry forward. I saw something like $26,000 or whatever. But when the budget debate is open, we might be able to go to some of these individuals in terms of ministry and agency and hear from them, what have been their own performance. And this is where the national legislative branch of government should be more robust. For the July to December 31st budget that was submitted, the House of Representatives requested the president to submit a budget performance report. We were expecting the budget performance report to come on the floor, and then members of the House of Representatives would have debated that budget before passage. Unfortunately, we did not hear about whether the president submitted a budget performance report for the period before July to December. And that was a very serious issue. We've been following that. But guess what? We have heard that that budget has been passed and it's been printed into handbill. We hope that the Ways, Means, and Finance Committee chair will address himself to some of these critical issues. Liberia should be governed by men, honorable men and women who will do the honorable thing. To give information. The Constitution says the people of the country, Liberia, need to be informed as to the governance process of the country. The workings of government must be a way of providing information. So if you halted the debate of the July to December budget because you wanted a budget performance report, that was excellent. That was the way to go. But for some reason, if you requested for the budget performance report and the president promised that you were going to submit the budget performance report, and the president did not, because you have not told us whether the president submitted a budget performance report, Liberians are not aware whether the budget performance report for previous budget or the first quarter of 2021 budget, how it was expended. But then, how you pass that budget that came before you in September, we don't know. Maybe it was passed behind closed door. Then what was the essence of calling for the budget performance report? Did you get the budget performance report? You should have a press conference and tell Liberians that, look, we received the budget performance report. It was excellent. The government executed the budget, the period budget, in an excellent manner. So because of that, we are all to pass a new budget. But if you became very silent on that, there's a lot of questions to answer. So we want to know whether the budget performance report was submitted by the president. You requested for it. The president promised to submit it. Did you receive it? If you received it, was it perfect? Was it good? Or did you develop any issue? What was probably the budget balance that which you're going to use to determine the current 2022 budget? Well, we hope that you as legislators will bring out the working, bring out information about what you're doing. Even if you had a discussion, you pass the budget in camera, you should be able to have a press conference to tell the Liberian people how you pass this budget. What was the yardstick you used to pass this budget? It's been printed into handbill already. We get those information. We get a date and the time you say you pass this budget. But the question we're asking is, why did you call for budget performance report when you knew you didn't need it to pass the budget? So if you pass the budget and you just request the president to submit a budget performance report, which we have not been told, Liberians and foreign partners in Liberia have not been told whether there was a budget performance report. How did you pass the budget? Now you have another budget before you. Are you still requesting for a budget performance report for the 2022 budget to be executed, to be debated and passed? Or you want to pass it the same way? Are you going to have a budget debate where line ministers and agencies will come and defend their budget if and only if they were part of the formulation process, which some of us doubt very seriously? But prove us wrong. Let line ministers and agencies appear before the House or the Senate Ways, Means and Finance Committee, either jointly or in the plenary session, and debate their portion of the budget. Ask them questions, serve as an independent branch of government that intend to check on the executive. And to do that is to, open a budget hearing, send for line ministers and agency, let it come and defend whether in fact they propose the figure that is in the national budget, the proposed budget. Because we don't hope that somebody will sit somewhere and decide figures for line ministers and agencies. You should have created a situation where line ministers and agencies will submit their proposed budget or their estimate to the Ministry of Finance, and Ministry of Finance should have, what we have heard from Bema Kamara is that formulation process should have been where the line minister and the agency would have been invited by the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Development Ministry, so that they could defend whatever they may have submitted before the final budget would have been drafted and then sent to you legislators. So to verify those processes is you lawmakers, you are under obligation. The Constitution gave you that power to act and act well by calling on ministries and agencies to come and defend whatever figure they may have submitted to the Ministry of Finance. And by then, you can decide whether you want to pass the budget or not. More so, the budget performance, the previous budget. So this is the catch now. The January to July to June 30th budget, whether you receive a budget performance report before you pass the July to December budget is an issue. Now, Liberians will want to know whether you have a budget performance report accompanying the 2022 budget for the period July 1st to December 31st. Do you have that budget performance report? I also doubt it. But hey, this is where we are. You have the constitutional obligation to inform Liberians as to the workings of government. And this is a critical issue. The envelope of the country, the finances of the country. The president is supposed to report every year about the financial, gain and losses. So wherever you are as legislators, you are not part of the executive branch of government. Sometimes we see lawmakers say, the president will win this election. It's not your duty as a lawmaker. All you should be doing is to make sure you check on the executive branch of government. Whether they're your friend sitting as president or not, you should be able to checkmate the president. If you submit a budget to you, you should be, like, for example, you know what's happening in Congress in the United States? Just a single member of the Democratic Party is causing some serious problem with the party budget that's been submitted for consideration. That's democracy. So whether you have that your friend or whatever they submit a budget to you, look through it, because you know why? Liberia can grow if you decide to check on one another for the good of the country, for the good of the people. So you have a budget before you. You should be asking seriously, where's the budget performance report? Receive the budget performance, divide it out, give it out to the media. Let the media look through these reports and know whether something went wrong, whether there was somebody taking money from somewhere. Under the General Auditing Commission should also be asking these questions. What's the budget performance report? The General Auditing Commission has a statutory obligation to ask the government for the budget performance report before they can even consider other budget. If necessary, audit the budget performance report. We hope that Liberia will grow from where it is. And to do that is to ask all of the critical questions. It's good enough. Some of the representatives have already started asking questions. I heard Dara Dillon saying, hey, they cannot pass the budget as it is. Good enough, Senator Dillon. You all went there, you were elected by the people to make sure that the right thing is done. So when these critical questions are asked, when you decide to say, hey, we should not pass the budget like this, it's understood that, hey, the budget shouldn't just come to you, you take it and you pass it because you have a benefit in it. Study the budget, look into the budget. You know, the budget has like people have a way of looking at line item and just put money in there. So by the time you pass it, they rejoice. I mean, somebody go and have a beer and okay, you know, the budget has passed. Because why? The line item that was buried was not touched by you. You did not do due diligence. You did not study the budget. You pass it that way. So those who have those line item hitting, they rejoice because guess what? You have approved the budget. And because you have approved it, whatever line item is there, I say, okay, let's say John Brown get this amount there, whether it's in goods and services or whatever it is like, they take, by the time you pass the budget, they start preparing vouchers and start to withdraw the money. So you lawmakers, you have a constitutional obligation to do the honorable thing, to study that budget before you. We want to see the budget performance report. We want to see the previous, the two budget performance report. I hope the Ways and Means Chairman, Thomas Fala, you have the obligation now to have a press conference and say, well, you received the budget performance report that you called for. That's the reason why you passed the July to December budget. You have already passed it. It's been printed in the handbill. We have heard that. We want to find a copy of those documents. But the best you can do for yourself is to have a press conference. You're the Ways and Means and Finance Chairman. Tell Liberians how you pass the budget. If you pass it in camera, did you receive the budget performance report that you called for? If so, give copy to the media. If not, that's a problem for you as Chairman of Ways and Means of Finance. Why did you call for the budget performance report? Why did you, turn the budget back? So these are issues we hope that the government will be able to do. Because guess what? If, for example, the U.S. ambassador speaks and criticizes the government, you'll have a problem with it, right? But you have to do the most honorable thing so that people can see. When you just call for the budget performance, that was the perfect thing. There's nobody that would have said, oh, the lawmakers don't have any right to call for the budget performance report. The fact that you make that call, that was honorable of you guys. But why did you call for it? And if you receive it, you did not tell Liberians that the president has submitted the budget performance report and you acted. You have reviewed the budget performance and it was excellent. It was good. The government did well. You would have said that. But if you call for it and you didn't tell Liberians why or how, and then you pass the other budget without even telling Liberians how you pass it, that was unfair to Liberians. If you're supposed to pass the budget, that's an envelope, that taxpayers' money, it should not be in secret. If you pass it in camera, you must give the information to the people. Why in fact will you pass the budget in camera? Well, you will say, well, you have a right? Your rules consider all of this stuff. But why would you want to do that? Honorably, you should have discussed this budget passage in public. If you have some critical security issues for which you don't want to debate, that's fine. But the entire envelope, the entire budget should be debated in public and pass it. If you had a budget performance report, share it with the media. Let the media do critical look at those performances. Another issue said that come out, there's a statutory obligation that every ministry and agency is supposed to submit an annual report. From the president office clean down, do you get annual report from the ministry and agencies? But we hope that you guys will start to look at these critical issues. The reason why you are a lawmaker is to make sure that the country resources is managed properly. I always hear the citation, lawmaking, oversight, and what have you. But the most important thing there is how is the country resources managed for the good of the country and people. So when a budget is proposed, all you need to do is forget that friendship thing. Forget about, I had to go to the mansion and talk to the president. Do what you're supposed to do. Let the president himself worry, because why? There's figure in there that he needs to defend. When I say him, that means you need to send his finance minister to defend certain figure. When you see a figure that you're not satisfied with, you have a right as lawmakers to cite the president. Say this figure in your budget is questionable. We need answers. He either send his minister of state to come and defend it, or you send the founder. I think he should have a financial person in his office to come and defend what he has. Or send the minister of finance to come and defend whatever he submitted. Other than just passing budget. Budget come before you, yeah, it's passed. We hear no critical issue. I mean, Sametua is perfect. He's the most better finance minister. He doesn't make mistakes. There's nothing hidden. Everything in there is perfect. That's what you guys tell us. But we think when you have a budget, it must be publicly debated. Send a budget performance report out. The media is capable of knowing whether the budget performance report is perfect or not. That's the fourth estate. That's supposed to also check on the three different estates, meaning the executive, legislature, and judiciary. So they are there. If you legislators do not check to ensure balance of activities within government, then we also look into other development. That is, we let the media to perform her job. But the media will not perform her job if you do not give them the tools. Or do they have to go to court first and ask for the budget performance report? Well, that's how far we come today. We been here and we had just one correspondent today from Yolan County. And because we had Inside Liberia coming out, we thought to add our voice to some of these critical issues that's unfolding in that part of the world. Now, for the health sector, things are not too good on a global scene. So we hope Liberian will take cognizance of that. If you are an individual, a Liberian, you don't need the government to tell you that you need to wear your mask every day. There's a global health crisis. If you haven't experienced it, but human beings are dying every day. You don't have to wait to be hit. Whether you are in Liberia, you are in America, you are in Asia, wherever you find yourself, there's a serious, like I listened just this morning, Israel has banned anyone coming from America to go to Israel. They have issued a temporary ban. That shows there's a very serious matter going on when it comes to health. COVID is serious. So you in your local corner, wear your mask. You don't get nothing to do. You don't want to take vaccine, wear your mask. But we all should take a vaccine too. So that whatever that will go on, they can't say, oh, because you didn't take a vaccine. Take a vaccine and be part of the number that have taken a vaccine. So if you take a vaccine, you take your double dose, whatever they call it, and you have any problem, and then we say, okay, we can now raise issues with those who are producing the vaccine. All right. So that's how we end today's program. There has been our 2A radio. We've been broadcasting from Pennsylvania. We always sit here and broadcast and bring in the news, events, and interviews. This has been Inside Liberia, and is glad to be part of it. Christmas is here. And if you have to celebrate Christmas, celebrate it with joy. If you have or you don't have, the fact that you have life There are many who were wishing to reach this day. They probably, they died. They left the scene. So if you have life, rejoice. You don't need a word. The biggest thing is that life. As long as you have it, be happy. Celebrate the Christmas in whatever way you can. Still be a case. Speak for us today. Bye for now.